here.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in the hole. Julio's on deck, but come to the stage right now. Let's make it very loud for E1.
Hell yeah.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Hey.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, North Korea sent over 200 balloons to South Korea. Yeah, they're all loaded with excrement and garbage. That statement's not exactly accurate, because they weren't packed with shitty trash. No, they were filled with Dane Cook's jokes. And in retaliation, South Korea set up these loudspeakers, and they're like blasting like anti-communist propaganda and like K-pop. And then in retaliation for that, North Korea's set up their own loudspeakers, but they don't have like bands like BTS in North Korea, right? So they just blast like the most annoying sounds they could think of, Yeah, Matt Rife's comedy special.
Whoa! These are roasted.
And, there's a new disorder going around nowadays. It's called Usher syndrome. It makes you go blind and deaf. It's pretty serious, right? I always thought when you got Usher syndrome, it just made you go, yeah! I was eating pizza the other day, but eating pizza by yourself is kind of depressing, right? Yeah, it's like eating cake or getting drunk by yourself. Basically my last birthday. Let me tell you guys a story. People in the army, right, they get nicknames sometimes, right? Like this one guy, he had a big head, right? So people call him Scully and shit. I had a nickname too for a short while in base training. It was a Kenobi, right? Yeah, like one day, this towards the basic, we were all camped out in this bivouac area, and we all getting ready to pack up and march back to the base, right? Now, none of us are looking forward to this, because forced marching is one of the hardest things you can ever do, Like, we have like 80 pounds of shit, we're like marching, right? It's really strenuous. Anyway, the first time we did 4 miles, right? And that was really hard, right? Next time we did 8 miles, which like haunts my dreams, to this day. This time we're supposed to do 16 miles, right? So everyone's like, fuck. Anyway, I'm with my platoon, we're marching toward this rendezvous point, right? And on the side of the road there's this truck. And Sergeant steps out from the truck, he's like, hey, I need help loading up this truck. Right, so my brain goes, ping! If he needs help loading that truck, then he's gonna need help unloading that truck. So I was like, I'll do it, right? And I run out of formation, and I just go to the truck and start loading the shit up, right? Now my whole platoon's looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, What, he just loves to work or something? Like, what a fucking idiot, right? Anyway, I'm like, they march off to the rendezvous point, they hook up with the rest of the platoons, and the whole company marches off, right? And me and these 5 other guys were like loading up this truck, right, with tents and shit. We're done after about 45 minutes, right? So we get into the truck and we head out, right? After just 10 minutes, we catch up to the call and shit. And we're like, hey, what's up, They all did the same thing too, right? They're like marching, right? And they look up at us and they're like, And the next guy, right, he's like marching, looks up, and then the next guy too, he's like, right? And we're just like, bye, And so we get to the base and then like we unload the truck, right? Like maybe 45 minutes. And then we eat chow, we take showers, we're like writing letters home, We have all this free time, right? We're like playing chess and shit. And we find these office chairs, we're like racing each other and shit. And we find these brooms, right? We're like jousting, We're just fucking around a bunch of young dudes. And finally some guy's like, hey man, they're coming back. Right? So we all go to look. And we're like, what the fuck? When last time we saw them, they're all like marching together in a big unit, right? Now they're just like trickling in one by one and shit. They're like every man for himself and shit. Like what the, And they're like walking like zombies and shit, like, And finally the whole mass of them show up, right? And it's just like a zombie horde, They're like, They even sound like zombies, right? Some of them are like dragging shit. And so I run downstairs, I find my buddy. I'm like, hey man, what the hell took you guys so long? And he's just staring at me like, and like I could tell he was all pissed off, but he was so tired he couldn't do anything, All I kept saying was like, you knew. How did you know? And the guy next to him was like, man, that motherfucker's E1 Kenobi. So that's how I got that Kenobi name, but yeah, it's a lot shorter and better than my old nickname. Yeah, much better than my old nickname, which was that Chinese-looking motherfucker. Yeah. It's weird how language changes over time, right? Like nowadays, if a guy came up to me and told me he was gonna blow my brains out, I wouldn't be sure whether to run away or pull my pants down. All right, I'll end with this last joke. Comedians will always tell you 2 things, right? They'll always tell you when they just get booked on a show, and they'll always tell you when they just had sex. It's a bit juvenile, right? Like myself, I haven't been booked on a show in over a month. But I did get laid last week, so whoa. I'm gonna need one, and I'm out of here. Thank you.
He's having sex. Good for you, man. Good for you. Actually, yeah, Chinese-looking motherfucker is what they call me too. What's up, Blair? All right. Wow, great timing. Okay, so Art Marquez.